Hey guys, as you would have guessed from the title of this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 books that changed my life. Now, a little bit of backstory. I didn't really know what personal development was growing up. I never read a personal development book. I never really watched a documentary before that had anything to do with personal development. So when Lewis came into my life, it was a bit of a shake-up. I didn't really know what this guy was on about. And if you watched our interview that we did in Bali for Valentine's Day, we shared with you guys that there was a time where we broke up, where we really were wanting different things and we had to separate. It was in those 2 weeks that I went and read these 5 books that I'm going to show you. Yes, 2 weeks, and I read 5 books. Crazy, I know. I look back on it now and I don't know how I did it. Book number 1, The Secret. To be honest, I actually watched the documentary before I read the book, but when I watched the documentary, I finished it and I put it on again. I finished it, I put it on again. I did this 5 times. I watched The Secret 5 times in a row after watching it the first time. That is how much it hit me. It was like a light bulb went off in my head, and for the first time in my life, I was hearing these completely new concepts and mindsets that I've never heard before. It was such a huge moment in my life, and it was because of that that I went on to read the rest of these books. The Secret opened my eyes to the whole entire concept of law of attraction. Before that, I never knew it existed. I never knew that changing your mindset and projecting what you want in life will give you the results. I never knew that was a thing. I really didn't. But ever since then, it is in everything that I do. It completely changed the way I think. The idea of shifting your mindset, projecting out what you want, visualizing what you want, and asking what you want, ready to receive what you want, was like a veil, had like a mask. I don't even know how to describe it. It was like somebody had just switched the light on. It really was. I know a lot of you have probably already read The Secret or watched The Secret, but if you haven't, go do it and have an open mind, because it was definitely a life-changing moment for me. Book number 2, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Again, this book came into my life at a really pivotal moment. I was in a really unfulfilling job, I was struggling with my friends, I'd just broken up with Lewis, and I was feeling lost. The way I had created my relationships in my life weren't working. It wasn't working. So when I read this and started to implement the techniques that he's talking about in this book, it was really the first time I started to see results just by changing my mindset and changing the way I speak and changing the way I think. It was the first time I was seeing results. And that's a really big deal. You can read a heap of personal development books and you can watch a heap of documentaries, but until you start seeing results because of the actions that you're taking, that's when the light bulb really goes off. If you have not read this book yet, and even if you have great relationships and you've got a great work life, there is so much you can still learn from this book, whether you're a business person, whether you just want some help with your family, whatever it may be, I highly recommend it. Number 3, I'm powering through these by the way. So number 3, The 5 Love Languages. Now, as I already said, Lewis and I were broken up, and there's a funny story that goes along with this. For whatever reason, my brother came home one night and he said, I've got this book for you. I finished reading it and I don't need it. Do you want this book? It was The 5 Love Languages. Within the same hour, Lewis messaged me saying, Amy suggested I should read this new book. It's called The 5 Love Languages. Within the same hour, Lewis and I, from 2 different people, had been given the same book. I strongly believe that if it wasn't for this book and wasn't for both of us implementing the techniques and the methods and learning each other's love languages and playing to that, I don't think Lewis and I would have ever gotten back together. So if you're in a relationship or if you're not in a relationship, doesn't matter. You can still learn a heck of a lot about yourself in this book. Number 4, Losing My Virginity by Richard Branson. Before reading Richard Branson's book, I had never even thought about starting my own business. I was still in that employee 9-to-5 mindset. It wasn't until falling in love with him through this book that I realized business could be fun and that anybody could do it, and that it wasn't just sitting in an office desk and working your heart out, that it could actually be enjoyable and that you could do what you love and have fun with it. So to that, I thank you, Richard. It really opened my eyes and sort of sparked that idea that, you know what, I could maybe start my own business. I could maybe work for myself. That's where it all started. Number 5, Think and Grow Rich. Now, to be honest, I never would have even picked up this book if it wasn't for number 4, Losing My Virginity. If it wasn't for Richard Branson, I would never even had the business mindset or the idea of wanting to start my own business. But because after reading that I went ahead and read this one. Now, this is a very, very old book, and if you are ever considering starting your own business or just want financial freedom from whatever avenue that may be, I highly recommend this book. As you can see, again, I love taking notes. Similar to The Secret, Napoleon Hill talks a lot about the law of attraction. And this book was written back in 1937, so even back then, he knew how powerful the idea of what you think can be what you create. Now, I love that. As I said at the beginning of this video, I had never read a personal development book in my life. I'd never even heard of them. So all of these books shook me to the core. They really rattled me. It is because of these 5 books that I am who I am today. Now, I've read a heap of other books following on from this that have again changed my life, but it is these 5 that started it all for me. If it was not for these 5 books, I really do not believe that I would be where I am today. I don't think I would be in front of this camera filming this video, and I don't think Lewis and I would be back together. That's a pretty powerful statement, but I mean it, and I will be forever grateful to these authors. Whatever your journey may be, whether it's a success journey, a business journey, a health journey, whatever it is for you, I cannot press enough how important personal development is. Personal development is such a huge part of my life now that I kind of even wrote a personal development book. Who would have thought? I'm not saying you need to go out and read these books, although I do think they'll change your life. All I'm saying is that if you're unhappy with your current results, you need to change something. And sometimes that does mean personal development. Alright guys, that is enough of me rambling on. If you have any books that changed your life, or if you have any recommendations for me, I would love to hear them in the comments below, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!